GTFO.
What terrible things do we do to deserve such hell? All we know is we'll have to work together, or we'll die together.
It's a game my friend Noah brought up to me one night during some casual gaming.
Would you be interested in GTFO?
I had heard the name before, but never really looked into it.
I want to try it out, but I didn't want to buy it if I'd be the only one.
From what little I could recall, I just assumed it was some sort of Left 4 Dead in space. Of course, I had only seen it around in the Steam store. It never really seemed to be our sort of game, so I just skipped out on really checking it out. That was a mistake.
It's like a horror stealth strategy game.
That night, when Noah brought it up, I responded to him just like that. Yeah, it's some sort of Left 4 Dead in space, right? To which he said no.
Yeah, I would say it's similar to Left 4 Dead in the fact that you have to, like, open doors that cause zombies to rush at you. But I would say then it would be more like Alien Isolation.
It's more like Alien Isolation. This piqued my interest. I love Alien Isolation, and the Alien franchise in general. Hell, I'm even one of those people who actually liked Prometheus, and even found things to like about Alien Covenant. I've dug 80s sci-fi things for a long time. The grit of them, the weird tech, it always just spoke to me. Guess that's the reason why I like Marauders so much. It's all industrial rather than sleek and modern. Films like The Thing, Blade Runner, Event Horizon, Life, those are my kind of films. The unknown-faced, but yet somehow hidden and misunderstood. You can see it, but rarely do you understand it. I've also been a big fan of artists like H.R. Geiger and John Harris. We're getting off track though. This isn't a channel or video to tell you about my favorite films. GTFO, when I looked at it a little more in depth, reminded me of all those things I loved. It's gritty, gross, horrifying, and crushingly hard. The sneaking about with the bio-tracker, of course, gave me heavy Alien Isolation vibes, but the stealth and mechanics and brutal combat, something just clicked. Yeah, this is it. We watched nothing else other than the trailers for the game. When we did our first drop, we had no idea what we were going into. We wanted it to be new, fresh, and just how the devs designed it. Only 2 of us even did the tutorial. There were 3 of us with a bot the first time, me, my friend Zach, and my friend Noah. We dropped an alt rundown 1A1. We got destroyed. We didn't understand the computers, alarm doors, enemy types, tools, etc. But to be honest, it was amazing. It was one of the most fresh experiences I had played in a long time. It takes a lot for me to say that, to be honest with you. There's not really too many games that I would account among the games that blew me away. The OG Dark Souls, Tarkov, Marauders, Foxhole, Project Zomboid. Those are a few that get that title from me, but it's really not that many more than those. GTFO had it though. I'll try to put my finger on it, but I'm not really sure I can. GTFO just is what it is. It makes no apologies and doesn't feel like it really cares if you like it or not. Admittedly, I'm not a GTF pro, but we've sunk plenty of hours into it in the last month or so since we've had it. This isn't so much a guide, nor is it a really review, it's just me recommending you play this wonderful game and an appreciation for the devs' 10 chambers. I think the game is horribly underrated, with less than 2,000 people playing it a day. It's in a great spot too, but needs some more light shed on it. You might not agree with everything I say here, especially if you've been playing GTFO and you came for it for different reasons, but this is alright, it's just my thoughts. Just a heads up, from this point on there will be light spoilers for GTFO. If you want to go in blind and figure it out like we did, which I would highly recommend, please stop watching, go play a few expeditions, and come back. So, where to start? Let's talk about what GTFO is. I know sometimes when I post videos on it, my viewers have no idea what's going on. Fun fact, we don't really either. GTFO feels like a raid or dungeon in some sort of MMO. First you pick a rundown, which can be viewed as a collection of levels. We call them runs or expeditions. These all have goofy names like R7, Alt1, etc. Even the lingo of this game can be confusing at first. R7A1? What the hell does that mean? What's this dude talking about? R7 stands for Rundown 7. Currently, there are 7 rundowns that have happened. They have simply been titled Rundown, followed by a number. The current one is R7. The whole system is one that's super unique, and I'm not really sure of any game that does this way. Basically, once a new rundown comes out, the last one goes away. So back in the day when R2 came out, R1 went away and was unavailable for play. Recently, the game is adding back the old rundowns, but with a twist. The rooms might have changed, enemy placement is different, etc. So that's where the title Alt comes in, i.e. alternative. Then the A1. That's the level of a rundown. These always start in A tier and work their way down to E, A being the easiest, E being the hardest. The 1 in A1 means it's the first level or expedition, and possibly the only level or expedition in the A tier. These can be things like B2, C3, A2, etc. I know that sounds confusing, and honestly it is, but it's such a cool way of doing it. Once you pick a rundown and then a expedition or level of the rundown, you get a lobby together, which can be you and 3 friends or you and 3 bots or however you want to do it. You get to pick from an assortment of guns, tools, and other such things. Guns are the usual: assault rifles, SMGs, shotguns, pistols. There are also tools. Some tools are sentry guns that blast away foes. There's a bio tracker that shows the location of enemies. There's a mine deployer to set traps, and a C-foam launcher designed to plug up doors or stop enemies in their tracks. There's even these sweet melee weapons like a mine drill or a hammer. You can even pick out your character's outfits, like their mask, pants, backpacks, etc. Cosmetics are unlocked by beating levels in the game, by the way. No DLC or microtransactions in GTFO, which is a huge plus in my opinion. After that, you initiate drop. When you do that, you're suddenly woken up from hydrostasis with no idea where you're at, who you are, what you're doing. It's just raining, and you're above a big hole in the ground. So I guess it's not in space? Or maybe it is. Is this Earth? Or some other planet? Who knows? Next thing you know, you all drop. You fly down for as long as it takes you to get where you're going. Once at the bottom, the Tower of Terror, as Noah calls it, lets you off, and then it returns back to the surface. Well, now what? Orders come through on the side of your screen. It looks like some weird lines of code. It doesn't look pretty, and I don't think it's supposed to. It's coming from someone, or perhaps something, called the Warden. What's the Warden's orders? Gather DNA sample from HSU unit. Locate HSU_768 in complex. What the hell does that mean? What's an HSU? What's the complex? Who's this Warden? What are those creatures ahead? You then spend the rest of the level slowly sneaking through rooms filled with enemies, and there are a lot of them too. They'll be asleep most of the time, but on occasion they get restless. When they do that, they're basically searching for you. During that time, you can't move. You must stand still. You must turn off your flashlight. If you wake one, they will most likely scream and wake up a whole room. It's a mistake that happens more often than you'd expect. You'll find these terminals all over the maps that you can input codes in to tell you where you need to go. Query HSU768 is the command we find out we need. It tells us it's in Zone 52, but that's it. We open the map to look around and, well, it only fills in where you've been. It's mostly grayed out. Well, now what? We look around on the doors and lo and behold, these doors lead the way. This one says it goes to Zone 49, but has passage to Zone 50 and 51. Okay, this is the way we need to go, I guess. The door to 52 is locked and we'll need a key to it. I guess we'll query that as well. Sure enough, it's in Zone 51. The next room has some sort of door that has a security scan. Okay, easy enough, I guess. We pull the lever and an alarm starts blaring. It then has these little glowing areas we must stand in. It's some sort of bioscan that check if we're humans, I guess. What were they doing down here if these were needed? We hear enemies scream in the distance. Our characters say things like, "Here they come," and "I hate that sound." Next thing you know, there are enemies everywhere, and there's a lot of them. After fighting like this, you'll likely be low on health and ammo. You can look around for lockers and boxes that have all sorts of health and ammo packs, glow sticks, lock melters, etc. This is essential if you want to survive. After approaching the zone that has the key we need, I see something moving on my bio tracker. Wait a second, why is it moving? We slowly enter the room and ping the key location. We never saw what that moving thing was. We heard its nasty footsteps and a weird noise it would make every few seconds. We grab the key and start heading back. After a few more bioscan doors and fights later, we get to the HSU and do another bioscan. Sweet! Now all we have to do is get back to the area we came in at. Easy enough. We cleared the way. Wrong. Yet another alarm starts blasting, and we hear the monster roar. We've got to fight through hordes to get to the exit. We get to the exit, and thankfully it's over, but no, one last scan must be completed. Once it's done, you see the Expedition Success screen. That was the starting level of Alt Rundown 1. Amazing. It was simply amazing. We all just sat there for a second, thinking about how brutal it was, but how proud we were of ourselves. It took me back to the first time I beat a boss in Dark Souls, or the first time I killed a juiced PMC in Tarkov. It was such a rush, and one that I won't forget. We'll talk about the gameplay soon, but let's just talk about the visual and aesthetics of GTO for a moment, because they're really what makes the game. First off, the menu. It's nothing like I've ever seen before. It doesn't really look like one. When I first booted up the game, I just sat at the screen watching for a little bit before I realized I have to press a button. It doesn't say play now or hit any button to continue. It literally looks like some weird ass program that would be running on the Nostromo. It's wild. There isn't a level selector button, just a bunch of circles everywhere. The only thing that really resembles a traditional menu is the settings and quit at the top of the screen. It doesn't feel like I'm playing a game, but working with some sort of futuristic computer app for some sort of mining company. They hit the vibe perfectly. The sounds too. I can't stop thinking about the sounds sometimes. Just listen to a few from around the game here. It's industrial and honestly horrifying as well. The sounds themselves will jump scare you a little bit. Hitting initialize on the main screen with your headphones turned up too loud will scare the shit out of you if you're not careful. The in-game sounds are great as well. The heavy breathing when you wake up, the clicking of the monsters pounding on a blood door, it's all amazing. The way the game looks is great. I love the mishmash of industrial and high-tech, low-tech, all that stuff in the areas. Rundown 1 seems to be very industrial, lots of pipes, metal, etc. Rundown 7 seems to be more medical looking, with some areas even having vines and greenery in them. It's strange. It really feels like some sort of horrific complex where God himself never wanted us to be. We don't belong down here, and everything tries to tell you that. It's claustrophobic in a lot of areas. It just screams, get out, pardon the pun. The guns all look great. They're familiar enough, but just oddly different enough that you can't really place them. Is this a 9mm AUG? No idea. It's just badass. The attachments look great, and they sound great as well. The characters look great too. I love how crappy they look when you first start playing, and even when you do get cooler cosmetics, they still look kinda crappy, but like, in a good way. We'll get into the characters and lore more later, but one thing to note is how the characters each have their own personality in the lobby. It's an easy miss, but if you look, you'll notice it. One guy seems nervous, these other two freak out all the time, and then this guy seems somewhat relaxed and fine, possibly even calm about this whole situation, or at least accepting of it. It's an awesome little detail that I really didn't catch for a few times we played. The monster design is absolutely horrific and terrible. The way that these one creatures nibble off their own little fingers, the scout and their nasty tendril heads, the shooters, all of it is just disgusting. And they look like they're full of pus and their bloated guts. The music is also great and is composed by none other than Simon Viklund of Payday fame. It does a great job at getting you hyped and making you feel some dread. The lore in the game has me begging for more. I don't know much, but it seems like they dug too deep and some sort of virus was released. I've also seen portals mentioned too, so I have no clue, and honestly, that's kind of one of the cool things about it. The characters are prisoners. They have no choice. This is their life now. They're all named and all have backstories as well. They've had their memories wiped and were placed in these hydrostasis pods, only to be released when the warden has new orders for them. They know nothing, and so by extension, neither do you. I've watched some other videos about the lore and timeline of GTFO now, but it seems like it's all theories. None of the lore seems to have come out from anything other than what's witnessed in the game. It's all just kind of loose and guesswork. I literally have no clue what's going on. Transport this neonate, to the depressurization chamber. Why? Shut up. Who knows? Keep moving and stay focused. The gameplay, it's punishing. The game does not hold back in the least bit. It's a mix of slow creeping anxiety where you're relying on your teammates to not mess this up for you all. You're at such a heightened level of stress that when it goes wrong, you'll try to start blaming each other. When that happens, it's best to just fight hard and argue about it later. The motto for the game is work together or die together, and it couldn't be more true. This game gets heated sometimes. Someone ran off on their own and we died trying to get them. I was getting an objective, but they were not watching my back. These things can cost your team dearly. Small mistakes like missing your swing to silently kill a foe or someone not realizing their flashlight was still on can bring a whole room down on you, which will cost you ammo and health. Ammo and health you're going to need to beat the expedition. I have to rely on Noah and Zach. They rely on me. It's not that just one of us is the good one and these other ones are being carried. We need each other. I use the bio tracker, so it's my job to scout rooms, lead the way through fog, and mark any moving enemies. Noah needs to lay down sea foam on doors when everything falls apart, and Zach needs to put his turret anywhere we think enemies will be coming from when we do a security door. You'll sync up with your teammates to silently clear rooms of enemies, counting down so you all hit your foes at the same time.
1,
Go.
Slowly clearing cluster and cluster of enemies one by one until you can relax. But not for long, because the next door needs to be opened, and there's even more enemies behind it. You have to plan out everything step by step the best you can, but honestly, you'll mainly be working on the fly.
I won't die! He's invincible for now.
The game only tells you what needs to be done, but not how to do it. Often things feel like they're gonna fall apart at any minute if someone messes up. Sometimes a horde is making things difficult and we seem to be falling apart, so someone has to snap out of the combat and say it's not working. Fall back and regroup. There are missions where someone has to type on a computer and others have to tell them what to type. It makes you rely on one another in ways I've not seen before in a game. I must speak clearly when Noah asked what code name is X02. Crawl, I respond. C-R-A-W-L. Crawl. Never in my life have I written down so much information on an actual piece of paper in real life. 571. Okay. 118. It's needed when Noah lists off items and we want to remember their names to bring up later. The enemies are dicks, and they're smart too. They sprint fast and attack quicker. They dodge and flank, often getting behind your whole team without you even knowing it. They're so hard to shoot sometimes it's not even funny. There are all types of them too. Little guys who hit you with their tongue, others who will shoot you with some sort of projectile, big guys who smack you for 40% of your HP, scouts who alert the whole room and spawn a horde if you touch their feelers, shadow type enemies, etc., etc. They're cruel monsters, and they don't play fair. They don't play fair at all. It's overall just a relentless bastard of a game. It feels like it doesn't respect you or your time, but honestly it does. It just doesn't want to cater to you. It expects things from you. GTFO asks you to rise to its level. It doesn't stoop to yours. It felt weird hearing that the top dog in terms of content creators, Dr. Scalar, the default best at the game, and a guy you should go check out by the way, has a horrible survival rate on some of the expeditions. It's not that he's bad, it's just incredibly hard with a steep learning curve. It's a challenge. That's the thing about GTFO though. If you don't respect GTFO, it won't respect you. It looks simple from the outside. Alien isolation with guns, yippee! But that's not it. You have to learn it. You have to explore it with respect like your high school girlfriend. You have to accept its challenge. Sometimes it feels almost unbeatable. This is stupid. There's no way we can do this. What the fuck? But you'll load back in for your third or fourth try, and you'll do it all over again, and you'll beat it this time. It's possible every time. Ammo will be low, you're all at 25% health, and you'll fight like hell. and then you'll see that Expedition Survive screen. No other game has that feeling of relief for me. We did it. We made it out. We worked together. If you want a game that's going to be an actual challenge for you, where you must work with your friends and rise to meet some almost impossible seeming challenges in a gritty FPS environment, then I highly recommend GTFO. They're doing things that I think are amazing. I like the company making it, I like the community, I just like the game. GTFO is definitely one we're going to remember and keep going back to. Thanks for watching.